All right, we are live. Do one more thing quick. Come on, here we go. Hey man, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How's the mortgage world?
Um, it's going okay. These economic conditions right now with the price of gas and various things, they could be better, but still moving along.
Yeah, that's true. Control what we can control. That's the best we can do. The things we can't control, we ain't gonna worry about them. We just can control what we can control and keep moving on.
You are correct. Yes, sir, indeed.
All right, so today we're going to talk about down payment assistance. Specifically, we're going to talk about 4 different down payment assistance programs. Well, 3 specifically. One we'll kind of just briefly mention. And we're going to talk about First Horizon down payment assistance. We'll talk about the City of Memphis down payment assistance. And we'll talk about THDA down payment assistance. And then there's another one you mentioned briefly, just in case, because it's really not a it's not a great to some extent, but we'll talk about it.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah,
all right,
correct.
cool. So let's start with the City of Memphis down payment assistance program. And one second. So my first question is basically, who is this program? Who would you say this program is designed for?
So this particular program, this down payment assistance program through the City of Memphis, it's primarily designed for anybody who wants to live within the greater City of Memphis area. It has to be a property that has City of Memphis property taxes. So you can't get the City of Memphis grant if you're buying in Millington, Arlington, Lakeland, Collierville, Germantown, Bartlett. Those areas are excluded. One of the key caveats to getting these funds from the City of Memphis is that the property must obtain City of Memphis property taxes. If the property is not receiving City of Memphis property taxes, then that property is not eligible for the grant program.
Okay, perfect. So then we live in the city. The person lives in the city of Memphis. Well, not live, but they wanna buy a home in the city of Memphis. What are the basic qualifications in order to qualify for the city of Memphis down payment assistance program?
Okay, so they have 5 different programs. They have a program for police officers where the income is unlimited if you're a police officer. They have a program for teachers where the income is unlimited if you're a teacher. And they have a program for firefighters, and the income is unlimited for firefighters. Now, the other 2 programs, remember I said there's 5. The other 2 programs, you have a program for regular citizens that make under, a various amount depending on the household. So say, for instance, if you're one person in a household, it's around $48,000 maximum income. But if you have 1 or 2 children or other people that are going to be living in the household, then the income limitation goes up. And that's the citywide program. Now, the HIPC program is the one that's the most flexible. The difference between the citywide and the HIPC is the HIPC program is restricted to about 15 different zip codes in the city of Memphis. And that program can go up to income limits of $200,000 a year, as long as you make less less than $200,000 a year on that program, depending on how many people you have in your family household.
Okay. So that is more of the income requirement. What is the credit score requirement in order to qualify for any of the City of Memphis down payment assistance program?
Credit score requirement is going to be set by the lender. So whatever bank they choose to go with, hopefully that bank is our bank, which is First Horizon Bank. Credit score requirement is 620. They do have a debt ratio limit. The housing debt ratio cannot exceed 33%, and the total debt ratio cannot exceed 45%. Now, what I mean by that is we're going to take your gross monthly income, and your monthly mortgage payment cannot be more than 33% of that gross monthly income. And your total debt, like car notes, furniture, credit cards, your total debt cannot be more than 45% of your monthly gross income.
Okay. And in the City of Memphis program, how much assistance can someone get? What kind of money can they get towards buying a home?
Yeah, now that's the part that I really like. So they're going to get 10% of the sales price, up to $25,000. But $25,000 is the max. So if they're buying a $200,000 home, they're going to get 20 grand because that's 10% of the sales price. If they're buying a $100,000 home, they're going to get 10 grand because that's 10% of the sales price. If they're buying a $150,000 home, they're going to get 15 grand because that's 10% of the sales price. So they get 10% of the sales price of the house, but not to exceed $25,000. So if you buy a home over 250 grand, the limit is still just $25,000.
Okay. So
And those funds, and the thing I like about the money, you can use the money for down payment, you can use the money to pay your closing cost, and you can use the money to buy your interest rate down so that you can possibly have a lower monthly house payment. So, and you can allot money to different areas. You can say, okay, I want to apply 10,000 to my down payment. I want to apply 5,000 to buy my interest rate down, and I want to apply 10,000 to my closing costs. So you can structure that money to go in whatever direction you want with the three various options.
okay. So basically, the City of Memphis program, you have to bind the city. There are 5 different options for who can buy in the different programs. You can get up to $25,000, but you're only going to get 10% of the selling price of what you are buying.
Correct.
And you can use the money towards your down payment, closing expenses, or you can even use it to buy down your interest rate to give yourself a lower payment. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. What is probably one of the biggest misconceptions with the Memphis down payment assistance program that you've heard or you've seen people mention?
Yeah, I would say the biggest misconception is they think they can buy anywhere. And you cannot buy anywhere. And then there's 5 different programs. There's the one for the firefighters, the one for the teachers, the one for the policemen, and the 2 different programs for the regular citizens of Memphis. Of course, those 2 different programs is going to vary. The one that allows for the higher income is going to be restricted to about 15 different zip codes. But the one that allows you to buy anywhere in the city of Memphis, that one is going to limit an annual income based on how many people are going to be in the household.
Okay. So one more quick question about that. Of course, we know police. It'll be Memphis, City of Memphis Police, Fire, City of Memphis Fire. Teachers, would it just be people who work for Memphis Shelby County Schools? Would those be the only people that would qualify for that teachers program? Not only teachers, but they just have to work for the system.
No, they actually have to be a teacher.
Okay, so in this program, you have to be a teacher. You can't be like
This
a
particular
janitor.
program specifically, no, this particular program for the city of Memphis, you have to be a teacher.
You have to be a teacher. You got to be in the classroom.
Correct.
Okay, so okay, in that case, how about does the principal qualify? Because he's considered a teacher, right? Would the principal qualify?
They would qualify, but they would have to move over to the regular 2 programs for regular citizens.
Wow.
In other words, these programs are designed specifically for teachers, for firefighters, and for policemen. But for people, even if they work for the educational system or any other capacity, they have to go over to the regular civilian programs.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So let's talk about the next one, which is THDA. THDA. I said that right?
Yeah, THDA.
DHDA. Okay. So let's kind of do the same thing. Who will this program suits best?
Okay, so one more thing though before we move on from the city of Memphis.
Okay.
I want to make sure that people know that with the city of Memphis, these grant funds will be a lien against your property for 5 years. But once you live in the property for 5 years, the funds are completely forgiven.
Okay.
So they're completely exonerated once you live in the property for 5 years. But you do have to maintain residency in the property in the same capacity for the first 5 years for the money to be forgiven. There's no monthly payment, there's no payback, but after you stay in the property for 5 years, the funds that they granted to you will be completely forgiven.
Okay. So basically, if you sell your house anytime after 5 years, free and clear. If you sell your house anytime within that 5-year period, at least some of that money will be taken out of your funds. You'll be responsible for some of that money if you're not in the house for at least 5 years.
Correct. Yeah. There could be a lien that could be placed against your property, and then that lien could require that you pay those grant funds back in full. They may reduce the amount depending on how long you've been in the property. But to my understanding, the dollar amount at the time of closing is placed on the property at lien amount in full.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And now one last thing about that. Do you have to be a first-time homeowner, never purchased a home before, or you just could not have owned a home within a certain period of time? For example, if you had if you owned your home when it was 15 years ago, would you?
No, that's a very good question. A very, very good question, because you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. However, at the time that you're applying for these funds from the city of Memphis, you cannot have any property under any circumstance titled in your name. Like if your mother died and she left the property to all 3 daughters, or if your dad died and he left the property to, 2 boys and 2 girls, and the property is now titled in the children's name. If you have any property of any kind titled in your name, even if it's free and clear, you are not eligible for the down payment funds for the city of Memphis. You cannot receive those funds under any circumstance. They don't care if the property is free and clear. They don't care if someone just died 2 weeks ago. That you cannot have any property in your name under any circumstances.
Okay. Good information right there. All right. So now let's talk about THDA. Who is this program based? Who would suit this program best? Who this program would suit best? THDA.
So the thing about the THDA program that's different from the city of Memphis is, number one, it is a state program. So any county in the state of Tennessee, it's not a city program, it's a state program. So various counties have various income limits depending on the household size of the maximum income that you can have. So Shelby County will have an income limit, and the income limit will be based on how many people live in the home. The funds that they offer with THDA, they offer a $6,000 down payment assistance program. They offer a $10,000 down payment assistance program, and they offer a 5% of the sales price, but up to $15,000 down payment assistance program. So you can get the 5% up to 15,000, you can get the 10,000, or you can get the 6,000. Now, their funds will maintain a lien against your property for 10 years. Meaning, if you try to do anything with this property for 10 years, they can come back to you for this money. However, the $15,000 program is not a grant. That 5% up to 15,000, that is not a grant. That's a monthly payment that you will have separate from your mortgage. The 6,000 and the 10,000, those are the ones that will be forgiven after 10 years.
Okay.
I know
And
that may be a little
has-
bit confusing, but in the variance in those two, where you say, well, what's the difference in me getting 6,000 and 10,000? The interest rate. If you get the 10,000, the interest rate is going to be a little bit higher than the 6,000.
Okay. Okay, cool.
But those two programs, the 6 and the 10, they're forgiven after 10 years. But the 5% program up to 15 grand, that's a 30-year mortgage, completely separate from your mortgage, and you have to pay all that money back.
Gotcha. Would you have an option for, let's say, for example, if you come into a lump sum of money to just pay that part off, or it just sticks, it is going to stick with your.
It is going to stick with it. It's going to stick with the terms and agreements, regardless. You don't have an
Okay.
option of winning the lottery and then telling them that you want to do that. Unfortunately,
Okay.
no.
Okay. And that's for the 15,000. The other two, if you go after 10 years, would be forgiven.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go up to 10 years, that 6,000 DPA program and that 10,000 DPA program, after 10 years, those funds will be forgiven.
Okay. Does THDA have a credit score limit, or?
Very good question. Their credit score is different from our credit score requirement and the City of Memphis credit score requirement. Their credit score requirement is 640. And in conjunction with their credit score requirement being 640, their maximum debt ratio is 45%. They don't have a limit on their housing debt ratio. So their housing debt ratio does not matter.
Okay.
Only the total debt ratio matters. And that total debt ratio limit is 45%. So basically, if you make, I'm going to do a little quick calculation here. Let's say someone makes $5,000 a month gross income. All their bills combined, their monthly bills on their credit report, only the ones on their credit report, things like telephone, car insurance, cell phone, internet service, streaming services, that stuff doesn't count. So we don't count that kind of stuff in the debt ratio at all. We only count the stuff that's on your official credit report, like credit cards, car loans, furniture loans, things like that. So the maximum debt ratio is 45%. So if you make $5,000 a month, that is $2,250. So all your bills, including your new house payment, cannot be over $2,250.
Okay. Got you. Okay. And your bank person and THDA only, you have, not every bank does THDA, only some, and your bank is one of the banks.
Yeah,
correct?
our bank is one of the banks approved. And that, I'm glad you said that, because you just jogged my memory on something. All of these programs require a HUD approved housing education class that the applicant must take. HUD stands for United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. So the City of Memphis requires a HUD approved education class, and the THDA requires a HUD approved education certification as well. There are various organizations throughout the city that offer these classes. My favorite one is United Housing. United Housing does a 4 to 6 hour class. They do cater lunch for you. And the class is $25. But that's the best class, because they bring in a mortgage banker. They bring in a real estate agent, and sometimes they even bring in a closing attorney, and they give you a wealth of information to prepare you for home ownership. But you have to have this certificate in order to be eligible for these funds.
Okay. Makes sense. We did talk about how much assistance. What is something else that you would like people to know about the THDA program? Why it might be a really good program for someone who is a little bit short on down payment. And while you answer that, can you also use that towards your closing costs, or it's only a down payment program only?
You can use it towards your closing costs as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But basically, you know, I'm a big proponent of buying homes, home ownership, because I feel if you rent $1,500 a month for 5 years, you know, you just gave your landlord $90,000. Just $1,500 a month in rent for 5 years. You just gave your landlord $90,000. So I tell people that I don't care what you have to do to obtain home ownership. It is better for you to purchase that home for yourself than purchase the home for the landlord. Because if you're giving them $90,000 over a 5-year period, you're positioning yourself to buy that house for that landlord. And that's just the bottom line. You know, I have this saying, and I say it all the time when I do classes throughout the city in various areas, that everyone in America is buying a house. It's just whether you're buying the house for yourself or you're buying the house for your landlord. And it's one or the other, which side of that fence that you want to be on. And I say that to say, when it comes to the terms and agreements of these grant programs, if you need the grant money to be able to buy the house because you don't have the money saved up for down payment or closing, then use these grant programs so that you can become a homeowner. Otherwise, you're giving money away. When you rent for 5 years and pay 90 grand and you walk away from that lease agreement with that landlord, you walk away with nothing. You may walk away with your deposit, but in most cases, you walk away with nothing. And you just gave them I don't want to say it again in bold numbers, $90,000 in 5 years, and you walk away with nothing. So if you have to use these grant programs to become a home ownership, I feel that when you weigh everything out, it is better for you to take advantage of these grant programs and buy a home than to continue to rent year after year after year. And your rent is going to go up on a consistent basis from year to year. At least when you purchase a home, you do have a fixed interest rate on your mortgage. And the principal and interest part will remain the same. It will not change. Can't control your homeowner's insurance going up and can't control property taxes going up, but your principal and interest portion of the mortgage payment will remain the same. So if you have to use the city of Memphis for down payment assistance money, if you have to use THDA for down payment assistance, I still encourage you to use these programs to become a homeowner, because a home or a piece of real estate is an appreciating asset. Means the asset, in most cases across this entire United States, the asset typically is going to increase in value. And it's better to put your money into something that's going to appreciate versus in various items that are going to depreciate and go down, like cars and things like that. You can purchase a home in various areas, you know, come back in 5 years, it's worth 50 grand more. You sell the home, you walk away with $50,000. You don't have that capability when you're renting. So regardless of some of the caveats and various, you know, challenges of these down payment assistance programs, if it is what is needed to help you to become a homeowner, then I highly encourage you to examine your options with these various programs and take advantage of them. You know, if of course if you are eligible and you qualify.
Absolutely, absolutely, totally agree. Now let's talk about the program that you're probably most biased about, which is First Horizon's down payment assistance. So, who is First Horizon targeting? Who mainly will qualify for the First Horizon down payment assistance?
Okay, so First Horizon, of course, you know, formerly First Tennessee, we're the biggest bank in the state of Tennessee. We're currently 33% market share, which means 1 out of every 3 Tennesseans bank with us in some capacity. So what we've decided to do is to say we appreciate, you know, our customers, our client base. We just appreciate the citizens of Tennessee, you know, regardless. And for that reason, we've come up with some grant and some down payment assistance programs, even if you don't have a bank account with First Horizon. We still offer the grant money to these individuals. You're not required, you know, we request that you do, but you're not required to open a bank account with us in order to receive the grant programs. If you do move some of your money over to First Horizon when you're getting our grant money, we will look into lowering your interest rate by moving various financial assets from one bank over to us. So that is a component of the program. But the grant program that First Horizon has, we have 3 different programs. We have a home buyer grant, we have a first responder grant, and we have a diversity grant. The home buyer grant is basically going to be for people that make under $79,000 a year. They can buy anywhere in Shelby County, anywhere in DeSoto County. So areas like Arlington, Lakeland, Collierville, Germantown, they're still eligible under the home buyer grant because the person makes under $79,000 a year. So they can buy anywhere in Shelby County, anywhere in DeSoto County, and anywhere in Tate County. And they will receive a $5,000 grant from First Horizon Bank. And our money, unlike THDA, where the money is forgiven in 10 years, and the city of Memphis, where the money is forgiven in 5 years, the First Horizon homebuyer grant is forgiven the day you get your keys to the house. So our grant money is forgiven immediately when you close at the closing attorney's office. It's real, true, free money, and it's $5,000 that can go towards your down payment. It can go towards the closing cost, and it can go towards your interest rate. Now, I know I said a max income on the home buyer grant of $79,000. However, if you buy in various areas, there is no annual income limit. So there are some areas in Shelby County and DeSoto County that are deemed to be low to moderate census tract areas, according to the United States Census Bureau. So if you buy in a low to moderate census tract area, there is no income limitation whatsoever.
What is considered a low to moderate census tract? What exactly are they looking for?
So there's a government website. It's at FFIEC government website. And the census, United States Census Bureau, they change that all the time. So I can't, and then they even change the lines. They draw different lines on the map. So you have to go to the website and check the property address and see if it's in a low to moderate census tract. It's not going to be based on zip codes because they draw a map, a little lines around various communities and various areas where one map, it may transcend from one zip code to another zip code to another zip code. So it's not something that's zip code based. It's based on the United States Census Bureau, FFIEC website. And you go in there and you draw the line. I mean, you pull in your address and it tells you if that property is in a low to moderate census area. And if it is, there is no income restriction whatsoever. But for those that make under $79,000 a year, we don't care where they buy. Collierville, Germantown, Lakeland, Arlington, Millington, Bartlett, as long as it's in Shelby County, as long as it's in DeSoto County, as long as it's in Tate County, they're eligible for that $5,000 making under $79,000 a year.
Okay. What are the credit qualifications for the First Horizon Down Payment Assistance Program?
So credit qualifications, it is going to be a conventional loan. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to do this grant money on FHA loans through First Horizon Bank. So it'll be a conventional loan. Credit score requirement is 620, and the debt ratio will range between 45 to 50%. When I say range, we run the loan through the computer system. If our automated underwriting system accepts approval, it accepts approval between 45 to 50% debt ratio based on how much assets you have. So sometimes if you have a good amount of money in your 401k, it may let you go up to a 50% debt ratio. If you don't have any money saved up or in your 401k, it may restrict you to a 45% debt ratio. But the qualifications are basically going to be the credit score of 620, the debt ratio between 45 to 50%. You still have to take the home buying education class. And I've already referenced that you could qualify in DeSoto County, Shelby County, and Tate County. You do have to have a minimum investment of $500, but typically that is going to be your earnest money or the money that you pay for your appraisal.
Okay. So for each one of these programs, does the buyer have to do anything extra to get this, or just a matter of once you look at the application and stuff, then you can kind of determine which one of these programs would work best for them?
No, the buyer just has to do the home buying education class, reach out to me for doing an application. I perform a mortgage analysis to determine their eligibility for approval and determine their eligibility for the various grant programs. Keep in mind now, we have 3 of them. We have the First Responder Grant, we have the Home Buyer Grant, and we have the Diversity Grant. Now, I went over the Home Buyer Grant. That's the one we've been discussing. The First Responder Grant goes from $5,000 to $6,000. The Diversity Grant is also $5,000, but the First Responder is $6,000. The difference in the First Responder Grant is it's going to give money, an additional $1,000 to people that work for police departments, sheriff offices, correctional officers, firefighters, U.S. military, local schools, state schools, county schools, hospitals, pharmacies, medical offices, and dental offices. So we have a wide range, as you can see by what I just said, we have a wide range of first responder eligibility. And you don't have to work in a first responder capacity to get the $6,000. You can be the janitor at the hospital, the receptionist at the dentist office. You can be an admin assistant at the school, state school, local school, county school. So you don't have to work in what is deemed to be a first responder capacity. You just basically have to work for a first responder organization. The guidelines for the qualification is pretty much the same, but we increased the dollar amount from $5,000 to $6,000.
Okay, that's good. Actually, somebody had Tony had asked if you had anything for hospital staff. So if you work at a hospital, you can qualify that at least that part of it qualifies.
Yeah, that would be the first responder. Now, being that he referenced that, and this is not everybody, of course, right. But we do have a physician's product strictly for doctors, where we do 100% financing for anyone that has MD behind their last name and they're working in a physician capacity. 100% financing with no mortgage insurance at all, up to $1.25 million. So up to $1.25 million, 100% financing specifically for physicians. That is one product that we have for doctors that work at the hospital or various medical organizations. For the people that are not doctors, they would fall into the category of this first responder program that would offer them $6,000 towards their down payment, their closing cost, or to buy their interest rate down.
Okay. So we talked about those three programs. Can you combine any of them? For example, your program with the city of Memphis, is there a way to combine some of those and get a little bit more help?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I love that question because each individual organization has their own set of criteria for qualifying. And as a professional mortgage banker and a mortgage loan officer, it is my responsibility to perform the analysis to determine if I can pair those programs together. I do pair the two that I pair the most is the program with First Horizon, which goes up to $6,000. I pair that with the city of Memphis money with the up to $25,000. So that means someone could get up to $31,000. Man, that's a lot of money. They could get up to $31,000 by allowing me to pair the city of Memphis program with the First Horizon Bank program that I just referenced to you. So yeah, you can pair them, but they have to align in the area of qualifying criteria. Each one has their own independent qualification guidelines, but every now and then I will come across an applicant that does fit the bucket to qualify for both programs, and we are allowed to stack those programs.
My friend, you and I had somebody that actually was able to stack them, and it's in their house right now. So that could be a fact. Do all these or some of these down payment assistance program work on a new construction home as well?
They do. Yeah. We don't have any caveat towards existing construction or new construction. So if the income aligns, the debt ratio aligns, or if the census tract aligns, then yes, new construction is no issue whatsoever.
Okay. Any other thing about the First Horizon program that you like folks to know?
No, basically, I just want the word to be spread about the grant money that's out here. Now, the reason I highlight that is the city of Memphis, they release their money, their government funds for grants. For this particular housing grant, they release it every July. Unfortunately, by the time we get to October, November, the funds have been exhausted. Now, sometimes the funds carry to December, but most of the times the funds do not last a very long time because so many people are applying for these grant funds. Now, that's the city of Memphis. First Horizon, we release our money in January, and that money pretty much carries throughout the whole year. But the biggest grant that I talked about, which was the $25,000 grant through the city of Memphis, or up to $25,000, it's 10% of the sales price. That particular program releases its funds in July, which they just released it because we're at July the 17th, and they just released the money. I mean, literally just less than 2 weeks ago. So the teachers, the police officers, the firefighters, and various citizens of the city are going to start applying for this money. And they have a certain allocation of money that they've set aside. Unfortunately, when we get to November, late October, mid-December, the funds start to trickle and they start to run out, and the programs no longer have funds available. So now is really a good time if you're interested in becoming a homeowner and one of your biggest hindrances is your down payment. Now is a good time to take advantage of these grant and these down payment assistance programs, because you can literally buy a house and come to the table without any money. I mean, if you're getting $25,000 from the city of Memphis and $6,000 from First Horizon Bank, that's $31,000. That money is going to cover your down payment. It's going to cover your closing cost. And then you're going to probably have some money left over where you can use it to buy your interest rate lower so you can have a lower mortgage payment. So the one thing that I would push in this conversation is please, pretty please, with sugar on top, pretty please spread the word to as many people and family members as you know about these various grant programs so that they can become homeowners. Because remember what I said at the beginning of this call, $1,500 a month over 5 years in rent, you just paid your landlord $90,000. And you're not going to get anything to show for that after 5 years. It's better to become a homeowner and invest in yourself and be on the ownership side of the fence instead of the renting side of the fence, so that you can have an appreciating asset in your life that if you decide to move to another city and you've owned this home for 7 years, you sell the home, you may make $75,000. And then you can take that $75,000 when you sell the home and start your new life somewhere else. But when you're renting, you just cannot do that. You get nothing when you rent. So I want to push this information about these grant programs, because one of the biggest hindrances in various communities throughout the city is they don't have the down payment money, and they know they don't have the down payment money to purchase a home. So they don't even try. But in cases with these grant programs, you don't need the down payment money because there's grant programs that will cover it for you.
Right. So someone sees this now, sees it later on. What advice would you give someone thinking about using any of these programs? What's the first step?
Well, the first step is just preparation. The four big pillars. So there are four big main pillars, and I've been a mortgage banker for over 30 years. So I've been doing this since 1992. And the four big pillars I tell people when it comes to buying a house, if they want to know what they need to do to be prepared, there are four key pillars. The first pillar, of course, is your credit score. You want your credit score to be as high as possible so that you can obtain the most favorable interest rate or the most favorable mortgage products that might be available to you. So the first pillar is credit score. The second pillar is going to be your source of income, which is a 2-year employment history. You have to be working consistently for 2 full years, not at the same job, but just working consistently for 2 full years. If you're a college graduate, we do use the time that you were in school as part of that 2 years. So if you're going to school for nursing and you graduate with your nursing degree, then we consider part of that time that you were obtaining your nursing degree, we consider that part of the 2 years. So that's the second pillar, 2-year employment history. The third pillar is debt ratio. The lower the amount of monthly debt. Now, make sure you key into the word that I said, monthly debt. I don't care about your balances of how much you owe. I care about the monthly payment because you're going to have a monthly mortgage payment. So we do debt ratio based on monthly payments. So the lower the monthly payments that you have on your credit report, the more house that you're going to be able to afford, which in most cases, sometimes they get you in the better and best neighborhoods. So you want to have your debt ratio as low as possible. That's pillar number 3. And then pillar number 4 is assets and reserves. If you have money saved up, checking account, savings account, 401k, mutual funds, IRAs, if you have any money saved up, that's also going to bode well for you getting a computer approval and you being able to qualify to purchase a home. So those are the 4 things I would say if you're interested in becoming a homeowner. Prepare with your credit score, prepare with your 2-year employment history consistently, prepare with your low debt ratio, So you want to have as low monthly payments as possible, or the least amount of debt as possible, and then prepare with your assets and reserves, money that you have in checking, savings, 401k, CD, mutual funds, things like that.
My last question: after someone apply, how long would it generally take you to let them know if they are good to go, and then I can start helping them find a home?
So my standard when you do an application with me, whether it's face-to-face or on my online link, because I do have the option for someone to click on the online link with me, type in the information, 15-minute application, and submit it to me. So I normally do the analysis in 48 to 72 hours. But if you find a property that you urgently want to put in an offer on, then you just have to make me aware of that via email or phone call. And then I can do the analysis within 24 hours and let you know if you are in position for mortgage approval. Once we grant the mortgage approval letter, that approval will be valid for 90 days. So you will have 90 days to look for the home of your desire that you want to purchase.
Okay, but that 90 days only applies if nothing changed from when you did the application, or you didn't change your job, your income didn't change, and
Correct.
so forth. Everything has to still be the same as when, at least the same or better as when you first did the application, correct?
Yes, very good point. So yeah, that 90-day approval is good as long as the merit of that approval remains the same for all of your criteria that you placed on the application. If any of your criteria has changed, then we have to redo a new analysis. Like if you change your job, change your income, went out and bought a car and added more debt, things like that, we have to do a new analysis.
Okay, sound good. Manuel Kelvin, I want to thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to helping me give folks this information. The reason why they have this down payment assistance program is to help people become homeowners, and I think homeownership is a great thing done right, especially. But all in all, the positives way outweigh the negatives. So yeah, thank you again very much. And folks want to get in touch with you, how can they reach you?
So my direct phone number is 901-412-8474. Once again, that's 901-412-8474. And then my email address is Kelvin, that's KELVIN .Martin, MARTIN, at firsthorizon.com. And First Horizon is spelled out FIRSTHORIZON.com. So Kelvin.Martin at firsthorizon.com, or my phone number 901-412-8474. Also, if they like to stop by my office and do an application in person, I'm located at 4990 Poplar Avenue, which used to be right next door to Houston's Restaurant. I know Houston's Restaurant no longer exists, but it's the 5-story First Horizon Bank building that used to be next door to Houston's at 4990 Poplar Avenue at the corner of Poplar and Mendenhall.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And of course, you can always reach out to me and I'll get you in touch with Kelvin. I've been working with Kelvin for a long time. So Kelvin, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Bye. Hey, so yeah, I think that's some really good information there from Kelvin concerning down payment assistance. So he was able to answer, Tony, he was able to answer your question. You do qualify for, based on where you work, you do qualify for up to $6,000 with them, because you work at a hospital. If you guys thinking of buying a home, you might have some money saved. You might not have all of it saved. There is ways that can help you get into your home quicker than you think because of some of these really good down payment assistance programs. The First Horizon down payment assistance give you up to $6,000. The City of Memphis down payment assistance give you up to $25,000. You get 10% off your selling price, up to $25,000. And then THDA, different, you can get 7, even up to 15. I'll say the 15 because it's a loan payback. I don't consider it down payment assistance. That's where you got to pay the money. But again, like to provide information. I think one of the best thing that I can do for anybody who's thinking of buying a home is to just give you information, help you educate yourself, so that way you can make an informed decision that is best for you and your family. That I think is the best thing that I can do, and that's what I try to do on these Fact Friday. I'll be doing the next one on 12 o'clock noon next Friday. Haven't decided what it's going to be on yet. And again, I don't just do it on real estate. I do it on everything. I've had personal trainers on here. I had my friend who's going through some serious medical stuff right now. We talk about men being able to go to doctor. I'm working on getting some other folks, nutritional folks. I'm going to make it holistic. So I think that's the best thing I can do for my community, is educate you, give you information, and let you make an informed decision. And hopefully in the process, if you think that I'm the person that you want to use to help you buy or sell a home, I would love to do that for you. But again, I would not refuse to give anybody any information just because they don't want to use me to buy or sell a home. That's not why I do this. Education is the best thing you can do for anybody. All right. So if you have any questions, give me a call. My number is 901-301-4912. You can follow me on all my social media platforms at Keno Spring. Yeah, thank you guys very much. I really do enjoy this, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I will see you guys next Friday for Fact Friday. Peace out.